Hi there. For those of you who might be seeing this video from search results, my name is Elizabeth. My channel is called Living Vibrantly. It's mostly a fitness and nutrition channel, but we have been dealing with infertility for several years now, and I have been pretty open about sharing what's going on with us, very open, because along the way with this journey, I have found that it's hard to find good information, and a lot of what is out there in terms of, medical research and everything is not really always the most user-friendly and easy to interpret. So I have benefited a lot from hearing other people's stories, and at the same time, it's still so rare to find, when I hear someone's story who's gone through the same issue that we have, it's rare enough that it's been really helpful for me to find those people, and sometimes I haven't been able to find them at all. So that's why I share, and I'm going to put as many keywords as I can in the description, so hopefully the right people who are experiencing the same things are going to find this. But if you know someone dealing with any of the issues that I'm describing here, I would so appreciate it if you would share their video, share this video with me, share this video with them. And my contact information is in the description. If you're watching this, you have any questions about anything that I shared, please get in touch with me, because I know this is such a tough journey. The details of everyone's story are different, but it is not easy for anyone who goes through infertility. And so I really love to connect with people and just offer support and answer questions. Even, something as small as, what was this procedure like? Like, how much did it hurt? What was it like for you? I find it so comforting to talk to a friend who went through the same thing. And if none of your friends have gone through the same thing, I can be that friend for you. So I'd love to hear from you. And I also have a community, should be linked in the description. It's called Surviving Infertility, and it's a closed private group on Facebook where you can share experiences like what I'm going to tell about if you don't want to share with all of YouTube. So I invite you into that as well. Come find us on Facebook. It's a place where you can just be real and let it all out as you're going through this. So with that, let's get into this. It's been, I think, about 2.5 years since I've given an update on our story, and that's because nothing really was happening. The last time that I updated, I believe, was in late 2016. We went through the process of freezing embryos, which I think is just a beautiful miracle that science has advanced to the point where it's even possible. So, that was, although it makes me sad and frustrated that it has come to this for us, it was also just an amazing feeling to know, wow, those are our babies and they're frozen and, just waiting for us. So, after that happened, I don't know, maybe I did one more video exploring surrogacy. I have to look. But we, in fact, I probably did when we were researching it. So at one time, about 2 years ago, we determined that we were going to explore surrogacy because my kidney function was still only about 40%, 30-40%. And there's a whole video that gives the backstory about why I have kidney problems, but in a nutshell, they were injured during surgery in 2014. And so then throughout the next 2-3 years, it was a process of recovery, and my kidney function was improving, but it never got to the point where my doctors felt pregnancy would be safe for me. And then it kind of stalled out. So, when that happened, we were kind of feeling like, we could wait and see, but there had been no change, no improvement in my kidney function for about a year. And so we decided to look into surrogacy because although Like the sensitive part of fertility treatment in terms of a woman's age is her eggs. So we have done that part of it, and we have 4 beautiful embryos frozen. So, really we could wait as long as we want. However, my husband and I are not getting any younger. So we decided that we were going to go ahead because, we don't want to be like first-time parents in our 50s, So that was a decision that we made. And it didn't work out, and we decided to take a break from it. And, really, I don't need to go into like any of the details about who we were talking to or why, but we never got to, or why it didn't work out, but we never got to the point of actually having contracts with anyone. And in a way that's lucky because, you can get very far down the path and put out a lot of money, and still have it not work out. And, that's the way it should be. Surrogate, like, you never want to be in a situation where women are being forced to have babies, another person's baby, right? So there's just really, it's balanced in the direction of the surrogate, the gestational carrier, being able to back out at any time, before she becomes pregnant. Once she becomes pregnant, then she's under contract, and it's different. But, so there are situations where people, you get all the way down the road and of like someone starting meds and just deciding, I can't do this. So, that can happen, and that needs to happen, or it needs to be able to happen. Like, people need to be able to make that decision, but that doesn't mean it's not heartbreaking for, they're called the intended parents, the genetic parents of that child, or, well, it's usually genetic, but the legal parents of the child that is being carried in someone else's body. So we never got to the point of being under contract with anyone, but we did have discussions with 3 different people that, the discussions were pretty serious. Like, these people all said, yes, I'm on board. Let's move ahead with this. And for various reasons, it fell through. And what I will say about that is, and this is why, like, I got into the surrogacy groups. There's groups on Facebook, and if you're not part of them and you want to be, let me know and I can help you connect with them. There's private groups on Facebook, all about surrogacy. There's groups for the gestational carriers. There's groups for the intended parents. There's groups where there are both. There's a group for agency reviews. So there's a lot of information, which is great, but I got into those groups, and the stories I was reading, like, I really was depressed for about a month after getting into those groups, because it just really drove home for me everything that can go wrong. So you think about, like, so everything from, if the child has a disability that can be detected before birth, or if the child has a condition, medical condition that's incompatible with life. So those are all, situations where you might have trouble making a decision about what you want to do, even if it's just you and your partner, or just you. But then you bring another person into the equation, so meaning the gestational carrier. So basically, you all have to be on the same page and think through every possible scenario before you sign that contract. And those can be some really difficult conversations to have. They can cause you to think about things you never wanted to think about, but you have to think about it, and you have to put down in black and white how you would handle that situation if that became your life. Like, you have to make a decision in advance, and that was a really, really hard part of it. So just something to know about surrogacy, but it is really important, because I see in those groups all the time, sometimes you got to get a good lawyer. Like, sometimes people, if their contract wasn't written correctly, it really causes problems, because the scenarios that you think will never happen end up happening. And then you better hope that the contract covered whatever has happened. So Surrogacy is a really tough thing, but it's just beautiful when it works out, and it does, and there are success stories too in those groups. But so anyway, we had some discussions with 3 different people. They got pretty far along, and when there was one situation. Well, basically, each of the 3 was different in terms of who decided not to move forward and what the issue was. But when the 3rd one fell through for us, we just decided, okay, we need to take a break because it's so much emotionally. It's so much. You get your hopes up. You think, wow, could I trust this person to carry my child? And, you have long conversations where you're kind of bearing your soul. And then it falls through. I mean, it's really almost like a dating relationship where, you're building trust, you're opening up to the person, you're letting them in, and then it doesn't work out. So we just decided to step back, not really knowing what we were going to do. And meanwhile, I was having blood work every 3 months, just routinely being monitored for my kidneys. Well, whole other long story that I won't go into here, but we tried to adopt 2 foster dogs. I got bitten by one of them on the first day, so the rescue took them back and rehomed them because I had to have hand surgery after the bite got infected. And, with a hand that I couldn't use at all, I was in no shape to be training and crating dogs that were new to our home. So we don't have dogs. But during that, I think, I don't know if it was something to do with the surgery or if it was unrelated and a complete fluke. But my kidney function then improved, and it was, consistently better for the next several readings. And so we started, we again met with a perinatal specialist. We talked with the nephrologist who had treated me back when I was on dialysis. We talked with our, fertility doctor who did the, who created the embryos for us. It sounds weird, but who helped us create our embryos. Anyway, talking to all the doctors, just kind of seeing how things were going, and the results continued that way. That, my kidney function was now within the risk category where the perinatal specialist felt that although there are always risks involved and the risks for me are higher, that it was in the category where it's probably safe. So, you're always taking a chance. You never know what's going to happen. But we decided to go ahead and move forward. In other words, with me carrying the baby. Or at least we're going to try. So, the first thing to know about it is nothing is guaranteed. I mean, of course, nothing is ever guaranteed, but I feel like with IVF, it's so different from, IVF is part of surrogacy, but with both IVF and surrogacy, you can pay such a large amount of money and you're not guaranteed to get anything from it. I mean, it's the same way with adoption. There's a lot of things that are like this, I guess, when it comes to growing your family, but it can be very hard to get used to. And at this point, I think we are pretty much used to it, but it is still hard not to get your hopes up too much with any one step in the process. But at any rate, we decided to move forward, and kind of slowly because of the bleeding issue I had during surgery in 2014, which is why I got the kidney injury in the first place. But because of that, I can't have any supplements, recommended not to take any supplements at all leading up to treatment. Or surgery of any kind, and the frozen embryo transfer. So that's what's going to happen next. Our embryos that are on ice, they'll transfer one of them back into my uterus and then support it with some meds to hopefully sustain a pregnancy. But, prior to the embryo transfer, just to reduce any risk of bleeding. I'm not allowed to have any supplements for a while beforehand, as well as certain foods. Real quick, the foods on that list. It says basically foods that have strong anticoagulant properties. So garlic, ginger, cinnamon, cayenne. Garlic has been the hardest one. I eat so much garlic and I miss it. Herbs, specifically echinacea and chamomile. So no more sleepy time tea for now. And then pineapple for whatever reason. It's kind of the weird outlier. But so basically any foods that are really normally good for preventing stroke and, thinning your blood in someone who has issues with clotting normally, then you don't want to increase that by thinning your blood more. So we're avoiding those foods plus all supplements, including vitamins. So that was kind of the thing where I have trouble with depression really year round, but it's worse in the winter. And so I could not imagine going through the winter without certain supplements. So that was kind of why we waited until now. And just kind of got our ducks in a row. So right now I'm actually preparing for something called the ERA test, Endometrial Receptivity Assessment. I don't know. Let me look it up real quick. Yes. Endometrial receptivity analysis. So we're getting ready for that. So it's basically a mock cycle to see how my body responds to the drugs. And then depending on the results, that informs the plan to move ahead. But the next step would be to do a real, as opposed to mock, cycle. With actually transferring the embryo. So you might have heard people talk about transfer day. That's what that is. Transferring the embryo from the freezer into my uterus. They thaw it out first. And then, leading up to that, I have been having acupuncture, and she's working specifically with a plan. So some studies indicate that IVF success rates are better with acupuncture. So that was why I decided to do it. It really helped my pelvic pain quite a bit. So I'm glad that I did it regardless. But, look into the research if that's something that's important to you. But if you're thinking about moving forward with this, check out acupuncture and see if it has enough evidence behind it to make it worth it for you. I will say that I expected it to be a lot more relaxing, and I found it kind of alarming the first time. It's not painless. Needles don't bother me either, so I didn't expect it. But it's kind of each time with the first needle, I kind of jump off the table, and then it's okay. But it has gotten, I think, more relaxing as I've gotten used to it. So we'll keep going with that. And acupuncture, special diet, and then the ERA test is something that is optional. From what I understand, normally how it's handled is if you have a failed cycle, like you transfer an embryo and it doesn't turn into a pregnancy. That's when the ERA test would be recommended, because then they want to see, did they transfer on the right day when you have the right hormone levels in your body and your uterine lining is in the right condition. However, since this is all out of pocket anyway, we decided that we don't want to take that chance, that we would rather not lose one of our embryos if we can help it. So we're doing the test first. And in people with a previous failed transfer, it does increase your likelihood of success. So it may not make a difference for us, but we it was one of those things where I felt like we should do everything that we can. And, compared to the cost of the whole process, the cost really isn't that high. And it's actually come down since we started looking into it. So that's where we are right now. that test is planned for me in a few days, and I just have had an issue with fluid in my uterus, and I don't really understand what may be causing that. And I have read that it's really doesn't, it decreases your likelihood of success when the actual embryo transfer comes around. So I'm feeling pretty concerned about that. I'm going to try to get some more information from our doctor to understand it a bit better, but it could be that it's just not well understood. So I don't know what kind of bearing that has on our success chances when we come to our the real deal cycle, but I'll update you on that next month. Okay. As far as the ERA test, so they actually go in and do a scratch test of the uterine lining to test the hormone levels inside there. So I'm told it's going to be pretty painful. The baseline visit though was, already pretty painful. So I was told that it really wouldn't be worse. So I've definitely had worse, although it's really not the most comfortable thing. But it's over pretty quickly. The one other thing that I'm dealing with, so back in December, while we were kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for winter to be over, so I can get off of my vitamins. I started to feel like this thing that pretty much felt like a baseball or a tennis ball, kind of in my oblique abdominal area, and was thinking, that's probably not a great thing. Like maybe I should get that checked out. So at my annual physical and pelvic exam, I asked my doctor about it. She ended up ordering a CT scan. And so what they think it is, if you've heard of Hydrosalpinx, fluid in the fallopian tube, either that or a cyst. So it's basically, they feel it's very unlikely to be cancer, but want to keep a better eye on it. And it on and off has caused me quite a bit of pain, or I don't know that it's causing it, but I've been having a lot of pain in that area, so it seems like it's probably connected. So I'm going to go in for an MRI next week and hopefully get a better idea of what that is in there and how it might, what kind of bearing it might have on this whole process for us. So that's what I'm dealing with. If you or anyone you know is dealing with similar issues, you have any questions, again, this is such a hard process to understand, and it can be really isolating. So it would actually mean a lot to me to be able to help anyone with these issues. So please reach out to me if you feel that I may be able to help. Thanks for watching. If you are just like stumbling on this video, I have a whole, on my channel, Living Vibrantly, there's a playlist called Our Fertility Journey, I believe. You look at my playlist. Let me look real quick. So you may have found this video on that same playlist, in which case you can find all the other videos. But if that's not how you got here, look for the playlist called Our Fertility Journey, and it has 7 previous videos on it, so you can hear all about what the process of creating embryos was like and kind of how we got here in the first place. And there's one that has more about surrogacy too. So go check those out if you're interested. Thanks for watching. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss the next update, please subscribe, and I'll see you later.